Welcome. Welcome to tonight's story. Take a moment before we begin to settle yourself wherever you are resting. Let your shoulders soften. Let your jaw unclench. Let the weight of your head sink a little more deeply into whatever is holding it. There's no need to follow every word. There's no need to remember anything. The story is here to keep you gentle company as you drift, and if your attention wanders, that is perfectly all right. You may come back when you like. You may stay away. The story will continue quietly, with or without you. Tonight, we are going to travel together to a quiet northern mountainside. We are going to visit a small station at the foot of a long, slow funicular, a single cable that climbs through bands of polar light from one small village up to another. At this hour, the funicular carries no passengers, only the night's freight. Warm bread, mended coats, folded letters. There's a stationmaster who makes her evening rounds in this place. She moves slowly. She is unhurried. She has only one rule, and it is a soft one. Nothing aboard the carriage may rattle. Nothing may clink. Everything must be wrapped, cradled, cushioned, and balanced, so that the long, slow climb is hushed from beginning to end. We will watch her at her work. We will hear the low, continuous hum of the cable. We will see the green and rose light slide across the packed snow. We will smell the yeasty warmth of fresh rye bread wrapped in felt. And we will, in time, settle down with her in the warm signal hut and listen and rest. Let your breathing deepen just a little. In through the nose, out through the mouth, slowly. Once more, if you like. In and out. Good. Now, gently, let the room around you grow quieter. Let it recede. In its place, slowly, the mountain rises. You are standing at the edge of a small wooden platform. The air is cold, but not sharp. It is the kind of cold that feels clean. It carries no wind tonight. It is still. It is patient. It smells faintly of pine resin and wood smoke, and underneath that, the warm, yeasty scent of bread carried in a covered crate somewhere nearby. Above you, the sky is moving. Not quickly, slowly. Wide, soft curtains of green light, edged with rose, drifting from one shoulder of the mountain to the other. The auroras here are quiet. They do not flash. They do not snap. They simply fold and unfold and fold again, as if someone were turning down the sheets of an enormous, gentle bed. The light from them lies across the snow in pale colored bands. Where the green falls, the snow looks like sea glass. Where the rose falls, it looks like the inside of a shell. Where neither falls, it is simply white, a soft, deep, padded white that swallows every sound. The platform you stand on is made of dark planks, brushed clean of snow, and lit by 2 lanterns. The lanterns hang from iron hooks. Their glass is fogged at the edges and clear at the centers, and inside each one, a small, steady flame burns the color of honey. They do not flicker much. The air is too still for that. Beyond the platform, the funicular track begins. A single line of steel rail, polished by use, runs straight up the slope into the distance, lifting gradually until it disappears among the dark shapes of pines and the further glow of the auroras. Between the 2 rails of the track lies the cable itself. It is thick. It is the color of old pewter. At this moment, it is still, resting, waiting. You can hear, very faintly, the hum of the cable house somewhere above. It is a low sound, almost too low to be a sound at all. It is more like a feeling in the chest, a patient hum, like a single held note on a deep instrument. You will hear this hum often tonight. It is the heartbeat of the mountain. At the far end of the platform, a small wooden building leans gently into the slope. This is the lower station. Its walls are dark timber. Its windows are warm with lamplight. A stovepipe rises from the roof, and a thin thread of pale smoke drifts up from it, vertical and slow. The smoke does not hurry. Nothing here hurries. From within the station, you can hear the soft sounds of someone at work. The light tap of a brass key being set down on a counter. The rustle of paper being folded. The small, dry creak of a wooden drawer being slid open and then slid closed. These are unhurried sounds. The sounds of someone who has done these things many thousands of times and who finds calm in their familiar order. You step toward the station. Beneath your boots, the dry powder snow makes a soft squeaking sound. Not a loud squeak. A small, polite one, as if the snow is trying not to disturb anything. You take another step, and another. Each step squeaks once, softly, and is then absorbed back into the muffled hush of the mountain. The door of the station is round-topped and painted a deep blue, the color of the sky just after sunset. A brass handle, smoothed by years of mittened hands, catches the lantern light. You do not need to open it yourself. As you approach, the door opens from the inside, and warm yellow light spills out onto the snow, painting a long, soft rectangle. The stationmaster stands in the doorway. She is a tall woman, but not imposing. She wears a wool coat the color of moss, with horn buttons. Her hair is silver, gathered into a low knot at the nape of her neck. Her eyes are kind, the color of the sky during a long winter afternoon. She nods to you, slowly, in welcome. She does not speak. In this place, words are used only when needed. She steps back to let you in. You cross the threshold. The warmth of the station wraps itself around you at once. It is the kind of warmth that comes from a small iron stove burning steadily in the corner. Not a roaring fire. A patient one. The kind that has been tended for hours and will be tended for hours more. The room is small. The walls are paneled in pine, and the wood has darkened to a deep amber color from many winters of stove smoke and lamplight. The ceiling is low. Beams run across it, each one notched and pegged in the old way. From one beam hangs a small brass bell on a leather cord. The bell is silent now. You will hear it later. Along one wall stands a long wooden counter. On the counter are the tools of the stationmaster's work. A ledger, open to tonight's page, with neat handwriting and soft pencil. A wooden tray of folded letters tied loosely with twine. A small brass tension gauge mounted on a polished wooden base, with a needle that ticks gently from 1/2 degree to the next, measuring the tautness of the cable far above. A felt cloth for polishing. A pair of leather gloves, set down with their fingers carefully aligned. On the opposite wall, low shelves hold the freight that will travel up the mountain tonight. A wooden crate lined with thick gray felt, half filled with loaves of rye bread. Their crusts a deep brown, their smell warm and yeasty and slightly sweet. A second crate holds jars of pear preserves, each one wrapped in a square of felt and labeled in the same soft pencil hand. A third holds folded mittens, pairs of them, knitted in undyed wool, freshly mended at the thumbs, warmed through and through from sitting near the stove. The stationmaster crosses the room with slow, even steps. She moves the way water moves in winter, patient, unhurried, sure of its course. She goes first to the tension gauge. She bends slightly. She watches the needle for several long seconds as the brass face catches the lamplight. The needle ticks once by a half degree. She nods. All is well. She picks up the felt cloth. She passes it once over the brass face of the gauge. Then she folds the cloth carefully and sets it back in its place. These small motions take her a long time. She is not slow because she is tired. She is slow because slowness is the work. Slowness is the rule of the mountain at this hour. You watch her, and as you watch, your own breathing slows to match hers. In and out. In and out. After she has tended the gauge, she crosses to the door of the stove and opens it briefly. The orange light inside glows softly across her face. She lifts a single small log from the basket beside the stove, places it gently among the embers, and closes the door. The room grows, by a small fraction, warmer. You feel it on the backs of your hands. She moves now to the long counter. She turns up the wick of the oil lamp, just a little, so that the light grows steady and golden. The fogged edges of the lamp's glass clear, then fog again, as the warm air rises and meets the cool air at the top. The pattern is gentle. You watch the lamp glass clear, and fog, and clear, and fog, and your eyelids feel a little heavier. She takes up her ledger. She reads tonight's entries with a careful finger. 12 loaves of rye for the Upper Village Bakery. 6 jars of Pear preserves for the inn. 11 pairs of mended mittens for the schoolhouse. 9 folded letters for the postbox at the top. She nods at each item. She makes a small mark beside each one with a soft pencil. The pencil whispers across the paper. When the ledger is checked, she sets it down and turns to the freight. She lifts the first loaf of rye from its shelf with both hands. It is still warm. You can see the faintest curl of steam rising from its crust. She holds it for a moment, the way one might hold a sleeping creature, and then she lowers it gently into the felt-lined crate. She places it on its side, not on its bottom, so that it will not press against the loaf beside it. She adjusts the felt around it, tucking it in like a blanket. She reaches for the next loaf. One by one, the loaves are nested, each one in its own felt cradle, each one tucked. The crate fills slowly until 12 loaves lie in a soft brown arrangement, like sleeping animals in a den. The smell of warm bread fills the room, yeasty, faintly sweet, with a deep grain note underneath. You breathe it in. It is a smell that belongs to safety. The stationmaster takes a final square of felt and lays it over the loaves, like a coverlet. She closes the wooden lid of the crate and slides a small carved wooden peg through the hasp to hold it shut. The peg slides home with a small, dry sound. She turns next to the jars of pear preserves. Each jar is the size of a child's fist, with a glass lid sealed by a rubber ring and a small wire clasp. The preserves inside are pale gold. In the lamplight, they look like jars of captured sunlight. She lifts one. She wraps it carefully in a square of felt so that no glass surface touches any other glass surface. She places it in the second crate. She lifts another. She wraps it. She places it. This is patient work. You could watch it for hours and not grow restless. Each jar is wrapped slowly. Each jar is set down softly. When all 6 jars are nested, she packs the gaps between them with more felt so that nothing can shift nothing can tap against anything else. She tests the crate with a small, gentle shake. Silence. She nods. The mittens come next. She lifts each folded pair from the shelf, presses them briefly between her palms to feel that they are still warm from the stove, and lays them in their crate. The wool is soft and undyed, the color of cream, or of oatmeal, or of the inside of an almond. She stacks the pairs neatly, alternating the direction of the cuffs so that the stack will not slide. 11 pairs. A tidy mound of warmth, ready for the school children at the top of the mountain. She thinks, perhaps, of those children, not with worry, simply with fondness. She has packed mittens for many winters. Children have come and gone. Hands have grown larger. New small hands have arrived. The mittens keep moving up the mountain, year after year, in their quiet, patient way. She closes the mitten crate. She pegs it shut. Finally, she goes to the tray of letters. She lifts the loose twine and lets the letters spill softly into her hand. They are written on heavy paper, folded in thirds, sealed with small dabs of pale wax. Some are addressed to people. Some are addressed only to houses. One bears a small drawing of a cat in the corner. Another carries a sprig of dried lavender tucked under its fold. These are the letters of a small village to its sister village, just up the mountain. News, recipes, greetings, quiet thoughts. She carries the letters to a slim mahogany drawer set into the side of the wooden carriage, just outside the station door. We will see the carriage in a moment. First, she takes a deep breath. She closes her eyes. She listens to the room. She listens to the hum of the distant cable. She listens to the soft tick of the brass gauge. She listens to the patient breath of the stove. When she is sure that all is in order, she opens her eyes and she steps out onto the platform with the letters in her arms. You follow her. You step from the warmth of the station into the deep hush of the snow-padded night. The cold meets your face like cool water. You breathe it in. Above you, the auroras have shifted. The green band has slid further to the west. The rose band has grown softer, almost pink. A new band has appeared at the edge of the sky, a pale lilac, barely visible. The colors slide. The snow beneath them takes on faint reflections, like the faintest possible bruise. The carriage waits at the platform. It is a single small wooden cabin, painted the same deep blue as the station door. It has tall, narrow windows of warm glass, a peaked roof, and a small lamp hung from its eaves. The lamp is not yet lit. The stationmaster lights it now with a long brass match, reaching up gently and touching the wick. The lamp catches. A small, honey-colored flame begins to burn inside its glass. The glass fogs at the edges and then clears. She opens the door of the carriage. Inside, there's a single wooden bench along one wall, polished smooth by years of use. The freight will be arranged on the floor in front of the bench, balanced so that the carriage will ride evenly on the cable. Beneath the bench, the slim mahogany drawer slides out at her touch. It is lined with felt as well. She lays the letters in the drawer, one by one, the way one might lay sleeping children in a row. When all the letters are nested, she closes the drawer with a soft push. It glides shut without a sound. She returns to the station for the first crate. The bread. She carries it with both arms, slowly, across the platform, and lifts it into the carriage. She places it in the center of the floor, balanced precisely. She steps back. She looks. She adjusts the crate by half an inch. She nods. She brings the second crate, the preserves. She places it to one side of the bread, low and stable. She steps back. She looks. She adjusts. She brings the third crate, the mittens. She places it on the other side of the bread, mirroring the position of the preserves. She steps back. She looks. She adjusts. When everything is balanced, she goes once more into the station and returns with a small folded blanket of the same gray felt. She unfolds it and lays it over the 3 crates, tucking the edges in around them. It is not for warmth. It is for silence. A blanket muffles every faint sound a crate might make against another crate. When it is in place, she runs her palm over its surface, smoothing it, the way one smooths a sheet on a bed. She steps out of the carriage. She closes the door. The latch falls softly. Now she stands at the front of the carriage, where a small brass pull chain hangs against the timber. At the end of the chain is a small bell, no larger than a walnut. This bell is the signal to the cable house far above. One soft chime means ready. The cable will begin to move. But the stationmaster does not pull the chain yet. She takes a moment. She walks around the carriage once, slowly, like a careful gardener walking around a flower bed. She brushes a few flakes of dry snow from the carriage roof with her mitten. She checks the underside, where the wheels grip the rail. She brushes a small drift of snow from the front grille. She walks back to the chain. She lifts her mittened hand. She takes the chain in her fingers, and she pulls gently, only once. The small bell speaks, a single soft chime, a round, warm sound, like a single note from a music box. The chime hangs in the air for a long moment. It travels up the slope. The snow muffles it, but does not extinguish it. It rises along the line of the cable, drifting upward, growing softer, until it is only a memory of a sound. You wait. Far up the mountain, after several long seconds, a second chime answers. It is so faint that you almost imagine it. One soft note, returning. The cable house has heard. The cable house is ready. And then the hum begins to deepen. The low, continuous note that has been resting in your chest grows half a shade fuller. The cable, which had been still, begins to move. Not quickly. The pace of a slow exhale. You can barely see the motion at first. You see it only because a single snowflake clinging to the cable begins to drift upward, very slowly, along the line. The carriage, attached to the cable, begins to move with it. It rolls forward on its wheels, by inches. The wheels make almost no sound. The body of the carriage glides past you, with its glowing lamp and its tall, narrow windows. Through the windows, you can see the felt-covered crates resting in their patient stillness. You can see the slim mahogany drawer beneath the bench. You can almost smell the bread, still rising faintly through the wood. The carriage passes the end of the platform. It begins its long, slow climb. The stationmaster watches it for a moment. Then she gestures, with a soft tilt of her head, that you should walk with her. Alongside the rail, on the slope below the platform, runs a narrow maintenance path, brushed clear of snow, lit by lanterns every 50 paces. She will walk part of the way alongside the carriage tonight. She often does. It is part of her rounds. It is a way of keeping company with the freight and with the cable and with the light. You step onto the maintenance path. Beneath your boots, The dry powder snow squeaks once, softly, then again, then again. You fall into step beside her. You walk at the pace of the carriage, which is the pace of a slow exhale. It is slower than your usual walk, much slower, but it is exactly the right pace for this place, at this hour, under this sky. You walk. The cable hums. The Auroras slide. To your right, the carriage rises beside you, its lamp a small honey-colored star moving up the slope. To your left, the slope falls gently away into a stand of pines, their boughs heavy with snow. Each tree is dusted in pale blue where the lantern light does not reach, and pale gold where it does. The Auroras paint the snow above and between them in long, slow stripes of green and rose. The Stationmaster says nothing. You say nothing. There is no need for words. The mountain itself is speaking, in its low, patient hum, and the only proper answer is to listen. You walk for a long while. The path winds gently along the slope, sometimes drawing close to the rail, sometimes drifting a little further away. Now and then you pass a lantern on a post, and the warm circle of light falls across your shoulders for a moment before releasing you again into the soft blue of the snow. Now and then you pass a small wooden bench set beside the path, half covered in snow, waiting for some future traveler who will come to sit and watch the light. Above you, the Auroras have begun a new motion. The green band has folded itself into a slow ripple, like a long ribbon held at one end and gently shaken. The rose band has split into two, one above, one below, and they are drifting apart, leaving a wide, pale gap between them, in which a few stars become briefly visible. The stars are very still. The light is very slow. Nothing here is in a hurry. You continue to walk. Your breathing has fallen into the rhythm of the hum, and the rhythm of your footsteps, and the rhythm of the slow climb of the carriage. In and out, in and out. Each breath is a small, soft thing. Each breath is enough. The path begins to bend toward the rail. You and the Stationmaster draw nearer to the carriage. Through its tall, narrow windows, the lamp inside glows steadily. You can see the felt blanket smooth across the crates. You can see, in the warm lamp glow, the tiny, lazy curl of steam still rising from the seam of the bread crate. The bread is still warm. It will still be warm when it reaches the upper village. That is part of the rule and part of the kindness. The Stationmaster smiles, very faintly. It is the smile of someone who has done a small thing well, and who knows that the small thing will, in its quiet way, gladden someone she will never meet, somewhere up the mountain. You feel the smile. You feel, too, a small warmth gather in your chest. The warmth of doing a quiet thing well. The warmth of a thing carried carefully. Further along, the path crosses a small wooden bridge. Beneath the bridge runs a stream that has not yet frozen. You can hear it murmuring under the planks, a soft conversational sound, like someone speaking in their sleep. The water is dark and clear. At the edges, ice has begun to form in delicate lace patterns that catch the rose light from above. You pause on the bridge for a moment and look down and watch the water move. The Stationmaster waits with you. She does not hurry you. She seems content to stand on the bridge and listen with you to the small voice of the stream. In time, you nod, and you both move on. The carriage is a little ahead of you now, climbing the slope with its slow, patient motion. You can see its lamp swaying very gently as the wheels pass over a small joint in the rail. The sway is almost imperceptible. The carriage is so carefully balanced that even this small motion does not disturb the freight inside. Inside, the bread sleeps. The preserves sleep. The mittens sleep. The letters sleep. You walk on. The auroras continue their slow shifting. You notice now, as your eyes have grown used to the dark, that there are subtle colors at the edges of the curtains. At the bottom of the green band, there's a wash of paler turquoise. At the top of the rose band, there's a deeper violet, almost the color of plum skin. These edges drift in and out. They do not last. They are gifts of a moment. The path begins to climb a little more steeply. You feel the gentle effort in the backs of your legs. It is a pleasant effort. It warms you from within. You take slower, deeper breaths now. The cold air feels good in your chest. After a while, the stationmaster slows her steps. She has reached the point of her rounds where she usually turns back. Just here, the path meets a smaller side trail that leads down through the pines to the warm signal hut. The signal hut is hers. It is where she will spend the rest of the night, listening to the hum of the cable and watching the auroras fold themselves across the slope. She lifts her mittened hand and rests it briefly on a small wooden post that marks the trail. She turns to look up at the carriage as it continues without her, climbing patiently into the distance, its small honey lamp growing fainter against the green and rose. She watches it for a long moment. She is sending it off the way one might send off a friend, with quiet attention, with care. Then she turns onto the side trail and gestures softly for you to follow. The trail descends a little. It is narrower than the maintenance path, but well tended, the snow pressed down by many gentle footsteps. Pines lean over it from both sides, their boughs heavy. Now and then, a small clump of snow slips from a bough and falls with a faint patting sound onto the trail ahead of you. You step around it. You walk on. The signal hut appears between the trees. It is smaller than the lower station, a single round room with a peaked roof and a stovepipe that sends up another thin, pale thread of smoke. Its single window glows with warm lamplight. Its walls are timber, weathered to a soft silver brown. Its door, like the station door, is round-topped and painted deep blue. The stationmaster opens the door. Warm air pours out across the snow, carrying with it the resinous scent of pine timbers, the warm, yeasty memory of bread, and a new smell now, the slow, rich smell of something simmering on a small stove. You step inside. The signal hut is round and snug. Its walls are paneled in the same dark amber pine. A small iron stove stands in the center, with a kettle on top, steam rising gently from its spout. Against one wall, a low wooden bench is covered in a thick wool blanket the color of moss. Against the other wall, a small writing desk holds a second tension gauge, a second ledger, and a long brass speaking tube that connects to the cable house above. The tube is silent now. It rests on a little wooden cradle. There is a single chair beside the desk, and a second chair by the bench, both made of the same dark pine, both softened with cushions of cream-colored wool. The stationmaster gestures for you to take the chair by the bench. You sit. The cushion is warm. The blanket on the bench beside you is warm. The whole room is warm. She crosses to the stove and lifts the kettle. She pours a slow stream of pale gold tea into 2 small ceramic cups, glazed in a soft, creamy white. The tea is herbal, chamomile, perhaps, with a thread of something else. Linden, maybe. Or a leaf you do not recognize. The steam rises in slow curls, and the smell is sweet and floral and gentle. She brings one cup to you. She sets it on a small wooden stand beside your chair. She takes her own to the chair by the desk. She sits. She wraps her hands around her cup. She closes her eyes for a moment, breathing in the steam. You do the same. The steam warms your face. The smell of the tea fills your nose. You take a small sip. The tea is just hot enough. It tastes of meadows in summer, of dried grass and gentle flowers. You take another small sip. You set the cup down. The stationmaster opens her eyes. She looks toward the window. You look too. Through the warm glass, you can see the slope of the mountain rising into the night. You can see the slow, steady motion of the cable above the rail. You can see, far up the slope, the small, honey-colored lamp of the carriage still climbing. It is much smaller now. It looks like a single warm star moving slowly through the green and rose curtains. The hum of the cable is louder here because the signal hut sits closer to the cable house above. It is still a soft hum, still a low note. But now you can feel it in the soles of your feet, in the back of your chair, in the wooden walls of the hut itself. The hut hums gently along with the mountain. You hum gently along with the hut. You do not make any sound yourself. You simply feel the hum settle into you, like warm water settling into a sponge. The stationmaster lifts a small wooden box from beside her chair. Inside the box are her evening tasks for the hut. A small leather notebook in which she will write a single line about the weather. A felt cloth with which she will polish the second tension gauge. A small jar of beeswax with which she will rub the wooden handle of the speaking tube. She sets these items out on the desk, one by one, in a quiet row. She begins with the tension gauge. She lifts the felt cloth, dabs it lightly with a drop of pale oil from a tiny bottle, and passes it over the brass face of the gauge. The brass brightens. The needle ticks by a half degree. She watches it for a long moment. All is well. All is balanced. She sets the cloth aside. She opens the leather notebook. She dips a small pencil, the same kind of soft pencil that lives in the lower station, into a tiny sharpener. She writes a single line. You cannot see what she has written from where you sit, but you can imagine it. Something like, clear sky, light auroras, no wind, freight away at 8. She closes the book. She sets it aside. She lifts the small jar of beeswax. She unscrews the lid. A new smell joins the room. Sweet, warm, faintly honeyed. She rubs a little wax onto her fingertips and then rubs the wax slowly into the wooden handle of the speaking tube. The wood darkens with the wax. It begins to gleam softly. She rubs in long, even strokes. You watch her hands move. Your eyelids feel heavier still. When the handle has been waxed, she sets the jar aside, screws the lid back on, and wipes her fingers on a small cotton cloth. She has finished her tasks. She picks up her tea. She sips. She settles back into her chair. You drink a little more of your tea. You lean back. The cushion supports you. The wool blanket is within easy reach. You draw it over your lap. The wool is heavy and warm and faintly scratchy in the way that good wool is. You can feel the warmth of the stove on the side of your face. You can hear the kettle still murmuring softly. You can hear the hum of the cable. You can hear, very faintly the dry crackle of the fire inside the stove. Through the window, the carriage continues to climb. Its lamp grows smaller. It passes through a brighter patch of green light, and for a moment, its small gold flame is haloed in green. Then it passes into a band of pale rose, and the halo turns pink. Then it passes into a darker stretch of sky between the auroras, and it is simply a small, steady gold point climbing patiently. You watch the lamp. You watch it move. You think of the bread inside the carriage, still warm, still wrapped in felt, nestled with its brothers. You think of the jars of preserves, each one a small held sunlight, wrapped in its own felt square. You think of the mittens, soft with stove warmth, waiting to clothe small hands. You think of the letters, sleeping in their mahogany drawer. All of these things, climbing slowly, safely, through the night. You think how strange and lovely it is that an entire small world, a stationmaster, a cable, a carriage, a hut, 2 villages, exists only to carry such gentle things, so carefully, between one quiet place and another. No urgency, no noise, only patient kindness, sent up the mountain in a wooden box on the slow turning of a cable. A long time passes, or perhaps not so long. In this place, time loosens. You take another small sip of tea. You set the cup down. You let your head rest gently back. The stationmaster has set her own cup down. She has folded her hands in her lap. She is watching the window with the calm look of someone who has seen many auroras and who still finds each one a small, fresh gift. Now and then, she smiles very faintly. Now and then, her eyes drift closed for a moment and then open again. She is not sleeping. She is keeping watch. But she is keeping watch the way a mother keeps watch over a sleeping child, softly, without strain. You let your own eyes rest, not closed, just resting. The stove ticks gently as a small piece of wood inside it shifts. The kettle murmurs. The cable hums. The lamp at the desk flickers once and steadies. The lamp glass fogs at its edges and then clears. Outside, the snow holds its hush. Inside, the hut holds its warmth. After a while, far up the slope, a second chime sounds. You hear it through the window. Small, soft, round, a single note. It is the upper station, signaling that the carriage has arrived. The freight has reached the top of the mountain. The bread is being unloaded. The preserves are being placed on the inn's shelf. The mittens are being carried to the schoolhouse, where they will wait, warm and ready, for tomorrow's small hands. The letters are being lifted from their mahogany drawer and slipped into the village's postbox, where each one will be found and opened in good time by the people they were written to. The stationmaster smiles. She lifts the small brass speaking tube from its cradle. She blows softly into it once, by way of acknowledgement. Then she sets it back. All is well. All has arrived. The carriage will rest at the upper station for a while. Later in the night, perhaps, it will return empty, sliding back down the slope with its lamp still lit, carrying nothing but quiet air. Or perhaps it will be loaded with some small thing the upper village wishes to send down. A basket of dried herbs, a folded woven cloth, a wax-sealed jar. These are small mysteries that the night will arrange in its own slow way. The stationmaster does not need to think about them yet. Her work, for now, is done. She has carried the freight up the mountain. She has sent the chime. She has heard the answer. She has cleaned the gauge. She has written her line. She has waxed the wood. She has poured the tea. She picks up her cup again. She drinks slowly. You do the same. The tea is cooler now, but still warm, still gentle. You feel it move down your throat, into your chest, settling like a small, soft fire. You feel it spread to your shoulders. You feel your shoulders sink. You feel the wool blanket warm across your lap. You feel the cushion warm beneath you. You feel the hum of the cable warm beneath the floor. Outside the window, the auroras continue to slide. The green band has rejoined the rose band, and together they ripple in a long, slow wave across the upper slope. The pale lilac at the edge has deepened into a soft purple. A few more stars have appeared in the gaps between the curtains. They twinkle very faintly. They do not insist on being noticed. They simply wait. You watch the light. You watch the snow. You watch the lamp at the desk. You watch the kettle's slow steam. Your eyelids grow heavier still. The stationmaster does not mind. In this place, sleep is welcome. It is part of the freight that the mountain carries, not in a crate, not on the cable, but in the wide, soft air. Anyone who comes here is allowed to sleep. Anyone who comes here is encouraged to. The hum of the cable was made for sleep. The hush of the snow was made for sleep. The lamplight was made for sleep. You let your head rest against the back of the chair. You let your hands rest in your lap beneath the wool blanket. You let your feet rest flat on the warm pine floor. You breathe in. You breathe out. The hum of the cable, low and steady. The smell of warm bread, still faint in your memory. The smell of beeswax, sweet and honeyed. The smell of pine timbers, resinous and clean. The smell of chamomile tea, floral and soft. The smell of the stove, dry and woody. The green light sliding across the snow. The rose light sliding across the snow. The pale lilac at the edge. The single small honey lamp far up the slope, resting now at the upper station. The brass gauge, ticking by half degrees. The lamp glass, fogging and clearing. The kettle, murmuring. The stove, ticking. The cable, humming. You breathe in. You breathe out. The stationmaster sets down her cup. She folds her hands once more. She watches the slow folding of the light. She keeps her quiet, patient watch. You do not need to keep watch. You may rest. Let your shoulders sink a little more. Let your jaw soften. Let your hands grow heavy. Let your feet grow heavy. Let the warmth of the blanket and the cushion hold you. The hum of the cable goes on. It will go on through the night. It will go on long after the auroras have faded into the pale pre-dawn. It will go on as the morning light comes slowly to the slope, gold and pink across the snow. It will go on as small lamps are lit in the windows of the upper village, and small lamps are lit in the windows of the lower village, and small fires are stirred awake in small iron stoves. It will go on, patient and low, beneath everything. But you do not need to think of any of that now. You may simply rest here, in the warm, round room, with the stationmaster keeping her quiet watch, and the kettle murmuring, and the stove ticking, and the cable humming, and the soft green and rose light folding itself across the slope outside the window. You may rest. Breathe in, breathe out. The hum, the hush, the bread, safe. The preserves, safe. The mittens, safe. The letters, safe. The carriage, safe. You, safe. Let your eyes close if they are not already closed. The light continues without you. The hum continues without you. The mountain continues without you, slowly, kindly. Nothing depends on you now. Nothing waits for you to do anything. You are simply here, in the warm hut, beneath the slow folding sky, beside the patient Stationmaster who keeps her quiet watch. Breathe in, breathe out. The hum, the hush, the slow, soft folding of the light, the warmth of the blanket, the warmth of the cup, the warmth of the room. Sleep now. Sleep, if you wish. Sleep gently. The Stationmaster smiles very faintly at the window. The cable hums on. The lamp glass fogs and clears. The snow holds its hush. All is well. All is balanced. All is carried carefully through the night. Rest now. Rest. Rest.